Hey there, Lisa T again. I am making uh, a video for a contest entry for Robert Hagerman. Robert's on my turntable. I like this contest. It's band lineup changes and which one is your favorite. Um, I tried not to do anything too complicated. I didn't want to make the video too long. Robert is going to have to watch all of these, so I did a couple of easy ones and a couple of different ones. We'll see. So the first one I chose, I didn't know if I should pick them or not because they did have the same lineup of the same three guys for decades, but in the beginning things were different. And that is Rush. Rush, they were started in 1968 by Alex Lifeson, who had gotten a couple of his friends, bassist and vocalist Jeff Jones, drummer John Rutsey, and they formed a band and they decided to call themselves Rush. So that was the beginning of Rush. And they, I guess they played a gig. Things went well. They got a second gig, and Jones decided to go to a party a couple hours before the gig. And so Alex Lifeson had to replace him with who is now known as Geddy Lee, at the time, Gary Weinrib. And Jones never returned. So then Geddy Lee, he changed his name to his stage name to Geddy Lee, and he became the new front person and principal songwriter. So then they were just a trio of Geddy Lee on bass and vocals, and Alex Lifeson guitar, and John Rutsey, my goodness, on drums. Well, they had their debut album Rush. It was critically acclaimed and all that stuff. But Rutsey was more of like just a straight rocker, and Geddy Lee was getting more into the experimental stuff. Geddy and Alex Lifeson were getting more into the experimental stuff, progressive stuff, and synthesizers, and he wasn't really wanting to go in that direction. So they split, and they brought Neil Peart on board, and that is the Rush lineup that held for decades. And anyway, I absolutely love the album Signals. I like all of Rush's catalog, and most of their albums take their turn being my favorite at the time. But I just really like Signals a lot. I love New World Man, which is actually their biggest hit to date, and I love Subdivisions. And actually, this album is going to my nephew Joseph, who wants to collect records. So, I think a lot of teenagers relate to Subdivisions. So I thought that would be a good one to start him, in getting interested in Rush. He likes more dancey stuff and more melodic stuff. So I have to ease him into Rush, So anyway, well, unfortunately, Neil Peart passed away January 7th of last year of 2020. Their last album together was Clockwork Angels in 2012, and which a lot of people didn't get. I liked it though. I liked it a lot actually. But anyway, yeah, Rush. My favorite lineup is everybody's favorite lineup. the the three. Okay, so next we have Susie and the Banshees. And I love this band. I love this band. I love Christine, the Strawberry Girl, and I mean, they're just great. They're great. Spellbound. There was a song that became popular that they did. It was called Peekaboo or something like that. Anyway, I grew up in Southern California listening to KROQ. I moved away, when I was 17, so I hadn't lived there in a very long time. But anyway, so Susie and the Banshees got plenty of airplay on all the different college radio stations there and on KROQ, and they became one of my favorite bands. But so they were started in 1976. Susie Sue, the lyricist and vocalist, Steve Severin on bass, Marco Perrone on guitar, and then drummer Sid Vicious of the Sex Pistols. Marco and Sid were both replaced by John McKay and Kenny Morris, respectively. John McKay on guitar, Kenny Morris on drums. Before they ever recorded their first album. Sid Vicious, of course, died. But anyway, so they recorded The Scream in 1978. And then after their second album, McKay and Morris ended up leaving together during their UK tour. So kind of left them in a pinch, not knowing what to do. So they ended up calling upon Robert Smith from The Cure to go play guitar for them when he did, and Budgie Clark from the Slits to come, play drums, which he did. And Budgie Clark, he became like a fixture in the band, actually. So John McGosh ended up becoming their permanent guitarist. Robert Smith was just their guitarist on tour at that time. And McGosh is, he is very influential for that period, for that genre. He did the solo on Spellbound that makes so many best solo of that genre, lists. But he also had a really bad alcohol problem, and eventually it became too much for them, and they had to fire him. 1982, they had to fire him. So then they had like a revolving door of guitarists, and Robert Smith actually joined them as part of the band, for a period. And during that period, that is when they made my favorite album of theirs, Haida. This album's great. It has a beautiful dazzle on it. It has Take Me Back. I love that song. Bring Me the Head of the Preacher Man, kind of a rockin' song. And then, of course, they covered the Beatles' Dear Prudence from the White Album. I'm trying to find, they have like an insert of, there you go. You can see Robert Smith. See? There he is, still looking the same. He still looks the same. He still does his makeup and everything. I mean, the guy has not let himself evolve one iota. He's kind of turned into a weird caricature of himself. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. You should know I've disabled the thumbs up and thumbs down, so you can give me a thumbs down for saying that, but ain't nobody gonna see it. I got tired of petty people doing that to me. It's so stupid. Okay. So that was my favorite lineup, was the lineup of Susie Sue, um, Steve Severin, um, Budgie Clark, and Robert Smith. They were great together. They were just really great together. So the band ended up staying together until '96. They did have like a revolving door of guitarists. Robert Smith was with them for a few years. I think he ended up not playing with them again after '86. I don't remember, but I should have looked it up. But anyway, yeah. So they had a lot of changes, but they also had a lot of stability too, with Severin and Budgie Clark and Susie Sue staying together for, gosh, 40 years. Okay, so the next choice is just a real easy one, and it's one that Robert even covered, and I imagine a lot of people are going to pick this one, but you know what? I haven't had a chance to talk about an album of theirs that I really like, so what the heck not. I'm picking Van Halen, okay? We all know how it goes. The original four lineup from 1974 to 1985 was one of the best front people for a band ever was David Lee Roth. You could argue whether or not he can actually sing. Not so much really, honestly, but he had a lot of character and charisma, so to speak, and he rocked, and he was fabulous. But they split up in '85, and they had to look for another front person. They ended up, as you know, I think they did 6 albums together, didn't they, before they split up? Let's see, there's Van Halen 1, 2, Women and Children First. Let's see, there's Fair Warning, Diver Down, 1984. Or was 1984 before Diver Down? I don't remember. Anyway, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it. 6 albums that they did. Okay. And then, of course, Sammy Hagar joined, and, best of both worlds, and, blah, blah, blah. And then Hagar left, and he was replaced by some guy nobody wanted. And then Hagar came back, which nobody wanted. And eventually, Roth returned. And Michael Anthony, who, I didn't even say the name of the original lineup, did I? I just mentioned David Lee Roth. Okay, of course, I'm sorry. I just, I'm assuming everybody knows, but maybe I should name them. Alex Van Halen on drums, Eddie Van Halen on guitar, Michael Anthony on bass, and of course David Lee Roth was lead vocals. Okay, so Michael Anthony, a lot of people say he was not that great of a bass player, and oftentimes they had to re-record his bass on the albums, in the earlier albums. I don't know about all that. I'm not super duper impressed with his work. However, he was a fantastic backing vocalist. And that's hard to find, somebody who can rock with you and still sounds good on backing vocal. And, he was really good at it. And a lot of people, I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Anyway, so yeah, but they had to replace him for some reason. But they replaced him with Wolfgang Van Halen, which I like that, actually. And I saw some of their work, and I listened to the album that they released, a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember. What year was it? Oh my goodness. It was called A Different Kind of Truth. You can listen to it on YouTube, which that's where I listened to it. It was on YouTube. Good album, good solid album. Nothing wrong with it. David Lee Roth's vocals are not quite what they used to be, but you know what? So this is the lineup that I prefer, and this is my favorite album, Van Halen 2. I go back and forth between Van Halen 1 and Van Halen 2. Which album of theirs is my favorite? But I like Van Halen 2 the best. The lineup with just Alex and Eddie Van Halen, Michael Anthony, and David Lee Roth. This album kind of edges out the first because of, you know, DOA. I love the song DOA. I love Dance the Night Away. I thought it was gutsy of them to open up with their cover of, it's like their cover of Linda Ronstadt's cover of Dee Dee Warwick's "You're No Good." That song was covered a few times, but Linda Ronstadt was the first one to make it rock, and Van Halen took it up a notch. You know, took it up several notches, I should say. And this is just a really good album that I enjoy listening to, and it takes me right back to junior high and to the skating rink. And yeah, so this is my favorite lineup, Van Halen, and that's my favorite album of theirs. Oh my goodness, we're 16 minutes in and I still have 2 albums to go. Okay, I'm going to try to get it to just go really fast, okay? So, you know, Funkadelic was started by George Clinton. They as the backing band and backing vocals for Parliament, and there were tons of personnel changes. I can't even go over it would take me an hour and a half to go over every one of them individually. But there were many you know, comings and goings in the beginning, and also there were a lot that were uncredited because of they already had contracts in place and they could have gotten in trouble, so they weren't allowed to be credited. But by 1970, you know, Bernie Worrell was able to be credited, and that started the beginning of his relationship with George Clinton, and so which kind of makes him a P-Funk founder in a way. You know, I don't know. That's how he gets referred to often, but anyway, so they released an album that I loved in 70 called Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow. I don't own the album. So it's on my Spotify. I wish I had the vinyl. I don't. But what I do have is 1971's Maggot Brain. This is a reissue, but it's not the horrible. It's not the horrible beards. What is it? 4 guys with beards or whatever. It's not that. This is something else. It's Westbound. This is a Westbound's pressing, but it's a reissue though, and it's on 180 gram vinyl. So this is a nice copy of this record. I really love it. So let me go ahead and show you. I mean, everybody's seen it, but you know, why not? Let's do the gatefold thing. Let's do it. There you go. But I don't have an album of my favorite lineup, which is includes Bootsy Collins on bass. But that's okay. I love Funkadelic. You know, they're just always, you know, they're kind of always changing, but George Clinton, Bernie Worrell, Bootsy Collins, Catfish Collins. Excuse me. long as they're included, you know, as long as they're included, I love it. Okay, so the last one that I'm going to show is the LA punk band X, started by Exene Cervenka and John Doe. Wait a minute, no. Exene didn't start it. I'm sorry. It was John Doe and Billy Zoom who started it. And then Exene was dating John Doe. She is a poet. She writes beautiful lyrics and has a really interesting and unusual voice. So I guess naturally she ended up joining the band as a songwriter and vocalist. You recognize this from my last video. It's 4:45 and I'm still nursing it. As I missed my mouth. Oh my gosh. Hey. That's okay. I was going to have to change my shirt for ladies' night anyway, right? Okay. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. And then DJ Bone Break on drums. Oh, you know what? There's a channel called Drum Recovery Network. He's a really neat guy. He's been on my channel before, but he interviews a bunch of different drummers, and he actually interviewed DJ Bone Break. So that's something cool for you to check out. Drum Recovery Network. I'll link it. Anyway, their first two albums, Los Angeles and Wild Gift, are included in Rolling Stone magazine's top 500 songs. Let's see here. I'm so sorry, you guys. My dog is being a jerk. Hang on a second. Duke, get back down here. I'm in the basement. I left the door cracked so my cats could come and go without usually they'll just claw at the door while I'm trying to make a video because they hear me talking, so they try to get in. And so I'm like, I'll just crack the door. So then Duke is like, oh, the door must be cracked for me to come and go as I please. But he's not a very good doggy, so he doesn't he doesn't get to be unsupervised. So anyway, so stopping the video for that. Okay. So let's see, where was I? Okay. In I believe it was 82. What year was this? But this was their very first major label release, Under the Big Black Sun, and this is my favorite album of theirs. Okay. The lyrics were heavily influenced by the death of Exene Cervenka's older sister, and they have there's songs on here, Riding with Mary, Come Back to Me, Dancing with Tears in My Eyes, in the title song, Under the Big Black Sun, there's the lyrics, she just says, Mary's dead. Very heartbreaking and full of passion, and I loved it. I just loved it. Well, Billy Zoom wasn't happy with their level of success. He wanted to be huge, So even though they had a lot of success with Burning House of Love, I think it was in '86. It was a big hit on MTV when MTV used to play videos, but it wasn't enough for Zoom, so he got upset. So he left the band. Okay. And then they had to replace him, and then it was back and forth, and Zoom would leave, and he'd come back, and he'd leave, and he'd come back, and now he's back with the band, and actually they released an album in 2020, last year, called Alphabet Land, and it's a pretty decent album. I will say. But they've added some extra members to the band because DJ Bonebreak and Billy Zoom are wanting to focus on, broadening, on other instruments. I think horns and vibe, and so so it's a little more complex now. It's not just. I like them better as just kind of a stripped down 4-piece, more punk band, but everybody evolves and changes, and they're older now, just like, they're going to change, and that's okay. So I like them still. I'm still a fan of X, but I will say that this is my favorite lineup. Just the 4 of them, just John Doe, Exene Cervenka, DJ Bonebreak, and Billy Zoom. This is my favorite. That's my favorite lineup, and this is my favorite album of theirs. Now, oh my goodness, I have an album down here that I'll just show real quick. The first album the B-52s put out after Ricky Wilson passed away from AIDS-related complications. It's very tragic. I mean, how they even pulled it together. This is still sealed. It's a gift for my nephew, so I'm giving him several albums. So anyway, obviously, if I had my choice, the B-52's original lineup would still be very much in place. Darn it. Okay, well, thank you so much, Robert, for having such an interesting contest. I'm sorry I made the video so long. I hope you'll forgive me for that. You've been a good friend, a good support to my channel and mine and Glenn's channel, Base to Base with Lisa and Glenn as well. And we just appreciate you so much. You are an asset to this community, and I just love you. Bye-bye.